Now, the other day at LegoCon, a few new upcoming Star Wars sets based on the show The Mandalorian were revealed, and among them was a new version of one of the most well-known and popular and iconic and beloved ships in the entire Star Wars franchise, that being Boba Fett's starship? And if you thought the name of the ship was Slave One and had been for the past, 40 years or so and had been presented that way on countless toys and other merchandise over that time, well, you'd be right. But according to Michael Lee Stockwell, lead Star Wars designer over at LEGO, it's a name Disney doesn't want to use anymore and will be doing away with, presumably because it's problematic. Though he also noted that this is probably something Disney won't be publicly announcing. Which is fine considering myself and countless others, I'm sure, will be happy to announce it for them because of just how stupid this is for so many reasons. Not the least of which is that by doing this, by changing the name, they're only drawing attention to the name more so than leaving it alone ever could've or would've. Plus, it only encourages people to now go out of their way to keep calling it Slave One. This is something that I'm guessing very few Star Wars fans are going to go along with. And that includes someone who has actually played the character Boba Fett before, that being Mark Anthony Austin, who played him in the special edition of A New Hope. He had quite a bit to say the other day on Twitter about how no one, not even Disney, can change the name of this ship. He also went on to basically ask or point out how far down the rabbit hole do they want to go with all this? What other names need to be changed because they're problematic or too harsh and scary? He even joked about renaming stormtroopers as slight rain troopers. And look, you might be someone who says or argues, who really cares? It's just the name of a fictional ship being changed, get over it. And honestly, in a way, I think almost the exact same argument could be made in reverse. I mean, did anyone really care or have a problem with the ship being called Slave One? Was the name of a fictional ship in a fictional universe really offensive to people? And what does it say about Disney that they thought it would be or should be? Does Disney really think they need to protect people from this word, and what does that say about what they think about us? Do they think changing this name will make the world a better place somehow? Don't they understand that one of the things, maybe the main thing, that's been turning people away from Star Wars and other popular franchises, is that they sometimes treat these properties as platforms to preach at us, that when they do these things, they give off the impression that they think we need to be protected and or educated. They come off feeling like they think they are corporate overlords that need to keep us safe from words. And yes, believe me, I know the argument some will make in return. I hear it all the time, that Star Wars has always been political or had messages within it, and so why shouldn't it continue to be that way? And well, part of the problem with that is some of the people who want to see something like Star Wars used to push an agenda don't actually care about Star Wars itself at all. They just care about their agenda. They only want to use Star Wars as a sort of tool. Which obviously conflicts heavily with the vast majority of fans. Fans who are expected to pay in order to consume all this, and who want to see Star Wars be this sort of reality unto itself. The integrity of the fictional universe or galaxy is of the utmost importance to them, mainly for the sake of immersion. They want to believe that the events that occur in a Star Wars story or a movie or book or comic, whatever it is, or the decisions made in regards to the property are based solely off, you could say, in-universe cause and effect. For example, if in-universe or in a story Boba Fett was given a really good reason to change the name of his ship, or better yet, let's say that Din Djarin or the Mandalorian somehow came into possession of it and he wanted to rename it Razor Crest 2, well, fans probably still wouldn't like that, but at least there would be an in-universe reason for the change, and one that you could argue makes sense even if it wouldn't be warmly embraced by the fandom. However, slapping a new name for the ship on a Lego box after 40 some years because you somehow, some way, and for some reason think that the name of it has even the slightest or remotest connection to slavery in the real world is just breaking the integrity of Star Wars because, well, I really don't know why. I don't know that anyone was upset by the name Slave One out there anywhere. This feels more like some big-brained and virtue-signaling Disney exec was sitting in a boardroom somewhere and had this great idea and thought changing this name would get them good press. Because rest assured that if Disney really cared and had any sort of issue with slavery or anything like it, they wouldn't do business with a country like China. Anyway, maybe the strangest or most ironic part of all this when it comes to making changes like this or pushing some sort of political agenda in a franchise like Star Wars, which I'm not saying happens with every piece of Star Wars content, is that I think you end up just doing more harm than good for your cause. You end up making far more new sort of enemies than you do allies or new believers. Again here, most fans of Star Wars want to see stories that are a reflection of the galaxy far, far away that's already been created, not a reflection of our own real world presented in a way to push a real world agenda. And so when you insert that agenda, even if the cause itself is a good one, you end up with far more pushback to your cause than you do any newfound acceptance of it. And sometimes there really wasn't much pushback in the first place. The best example of this I can probably give is the inclusion of more quote-unquote strong female characters in, well, pretty much every franchise these days. Because that's something that in itself not many people out there are against or ever had any sort of problem with. I did a whole video a while back about how no fans really cared that the main character of the new Star Wars sequel trilogy was going to be female leading up to the films, that the problems only came after the fact, after she arguably wasn't a very well-crafted character, and things escalated from there because this rejection of her, this specific character, was blamed on or conflated with a rejection of women in Star Wars altogether, even though there'd always been good, strong female characters in Star Wars from the very start, and that male characters have also been rejected. And even when looking back at everything I've watched and enjoyed over my lifetime, there's almost always been strong female characters in everything, even when it was primarily tailored towards men or boys. Even the cartoons I grew up with in the 80s always had strong, capable female characters included. And you might try and say, well, they didn't have enough of them, or that they were always outnumbered by male characters, which is true. But again, these shows were tailored towards boys. They were really trying to sell toys, to be honest. The same way shows tailored towards girls had more female characters. And the real problem many fans have with more female characters in Star Wars is not the existence of them, it's the way they are being included, the way they're being handled once they're in there. They don't think these characters should be treated any differently because they're female characters. And many people feel they are being treated differently for real-world reasons. Which again is frustrating because Star Wars fans just want things to be influenced by in-universe factors. And so what ends up happening is that something that in theory should be great at best and benign at worst, the inclusion of more female characters, gets rejected by some fans that otherwise wouldn't have had any sort of issue with it. And those fans are then villainized because they're rejecting something they love being used for an agenda and not necessarily even rejecting the agenda itself. Till we've gotten to the point where now anytime a woman is given a lead role, it's questioned. Whereas again, going back to Rey in The Force Awakens and pretty much everything before, very few people, if any, cared at all or thought twice about a female being in the lead role. The pushing of the agenda has been self-defeating in a way, though I do wonder if this is intentional, because it's kind of difficult to push an agenda or to look virtuous doing it if you don't really have anything or anyone or any enemies standing in your way. No one is really going to care about your cause or think you're doing great work if you're fighting against non-existent enemies. So I sometimes wonder if part of the goal is to make those enemies. Is it to push as hard as you can with your agenda so that someone will stand up and reject it, and thus you create your own boogeyman to fight against? But anyway, I'm getting way off topic, and my point here is to basically explain why people get so upset about these changes that some people, those on the outside looking in, probably think are frivolous. And it's not because they love the word slave or the idea of it or anything crazy or stupid like that. It's because these changes break the continuity and integrity of the universe they care so much about just to make Disney feel better about themselves or to prevent a handful of people taking to Twitter and getting upset about the use of a word. Well, that's all I've got for you this time. It's been a while since I did a video like this. I've been trying to just talk about Star Wars again, which is why I made this channel in the first place, and what I love to do, but changing the name of Slave One was just so stupid that I had to make a video about it. Though who knows, maybe people have been missing me making videos like this, or maybe they've been glad I haven't. Either way, do leave a comment below and let's talk some Star Wars. And until next time, thanks for watching.